Hey guys, we got a great show for you today. When it comes to small business, caring is absolutely important. We're going to continue talking about communication, accessibility, responsiveness, and engagement. We got a great guest today, Andrea Luongo from Dietitians of Dallas. Stick around. We're going to have a great show. Real Talk begins now.
What's up, everybody? Good to be here today on Thursday, the Thursday before Thanksgiving. Nathan, that was an awesome intro. Thank you for that. You touched on our topic of the month, which is care and caring. So you already spoiled it because you named out all the what all the adjectives or the acronym stands for. So we will get deeper into that in a bit here. But welcome to the show. My name is Brian Poduska. We are Real Talk with Brian Poduska. Nathan is my guest host today, or co-host, I should say. Kerri Cook, who is normally his partner in crime, co-hosting, is not able to join us today. She is sick. So I wish you all the best, Kerri. I hope you feel better soon, which just means me and Nathan get more time and his guest gets more time today as well. So real quick, I'm going to talk about my company, Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments. We are a full-service property management company helping you as an investor look at your property from all different angles, analyze that property. We have a tool called Wealth Optimizer, which helps you do that. We obviously then manage it for you, and we can sell it on the back end. So we can buy, we can sell, and we manage. That is Real Property Management in a nutshell. Our key clients are investors, either intentional, accidental, starter, beginner, advanced, you name it. We work with investors to basically take you out of the management piece of your investment property. So like I said, that's Real Property Management. Without further ado, Lennon, if you can bring in Nathan.
Hello.
What's up, my man?
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am just fantastic.
Okay, good. You were frozen there on screen. I could hear you. All right, now I got you. You got you live.
I don't know what's going on with my internet today, but hope it's working out okay.
Well, it looks like it's working now, so that's a good thing. How you been, my man?
Man, I've been good. I feel bad because the last two shows we've been like, hey, we got to get lunch together, and we have failed on 2 months. So maybe around the holidays we'll try to.
Well, I can say one of them was my fault because my family was out of town, and I was trying to, or my wife was anyway, and I had some of the kids, some of our kids that I was had with me. So that one was on me. Yeah, and our schedules have been crazy. So absolutely, we need to do that here in the next coming weeks between the holidays.
Yeah, 100%. So you tell me. Well, I'll take a moment to just kind of talk about a little bit about Freedom Freestyle, and then we'll go into, I guess, our guest. And I'm looking forward. Do you know? You have any ideas what we're going to talk about next month? Have you guys figured that out yet? As far as theme, are we going to keep it Christmassy? Because I know that's kind of my favorite time of the year. I'm one of those people that wants to start listening to Christmas music like on November 1st. So I don't know if that upsets anyone, but I don't really care.
No, that's so we don't have an announcement yet on the business topic for next month. But
I got a few ideas we can mail around. We'll talk about
Okay, good. I mean, if you've got some good holiday themed ones, we're all ears.
But yeah, so I run the Facebook site Freedom Freestyle. My wife and I own a financial agency. We really, our passion is, yes, helping people become financially free through education. Obviously, we do insurance, investments, things like that. But my bigger passion, as we've talked about before, is just helping people, realize that there's other options than just kind of doing the employee thing for their whole life, right? There's opportunities in business. We teach people how to not only run a financial agency, but continue to grow that and produce more and more agents and really expand their market. And, ultimately that leads to financial freedom, stability as well. So, from a client side, it's, the fundamentals, helping people get out of debt, plan for retirement, make sure they're properly protected. all those things are great, and I'm passionate about them because I believe in what we do. But man, when I get to help people, see the value of entrepreneurship and go a different direction, and then they come work with me, that's where we get super excited and super encouraged. We got such a great team of people, such a great group of folks, and I don't have a financial background. This wasn't. Nobody wakes up and says, "Hey, when they ask you, like, as a kid, what do you want to do when you grow up?" Like, no one was like insurance and investments. No one said that. It was like astronaut, firefighter. But if they asked you, "Hey, do you want to be wealthy? Do you want to have financial independence? You want to be able to do what you want to do? Do you want to be able to, help people when they need help? Do you want to be able to travel?" Then everybody would say yes. And so that is, this particular industry has been a great blessing. But beyond that, it's the lives that we've been able to help and are continuing. I mean, we're just getting started. So we're fired up about that.
Well, I love that about you and your, we always weave the theme of entrepreneurism and, owning your own company and financial freedom and, freedom to really do what you want and in life. So I love kicking that topic around with you because of that, entrepreneurial spirit that you have and that you're exactly right. Whenever you have that conversation as a kid or whoever your teacher asks or your parents ask or whoever, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, how many people actually are doing what they said they were going to do in whatever, 5th grade? Not many.
Yeah. I don't even remember what my answer to that was. I think it was sports related, which
I know I'm not.
Really didn't work out very well for me.
I'm not a Major League Baseball pitcher.
You're not? Okay, well, maybe eventually.
That's unfortunate, but I think my window is closed on that. But oh well.
Maybe softball. Maybe that's more of your speed.
I've done softball. I still play that, so it's not a very lucrative investment though. So
there is a professional softball circuit. Did you know that?
No, interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't pay very well, but
hey,
it does exist.
I had a buddy that played on that, and he made about $25,000 a year playing softball.
Hey,
that's not bad for a part-time gig there. That's not bad.
No, what was better though is I was managing his gym, and so he would take me out every morning at about 10 o'clock, and I would pitch to him so he could just sit there and have batting practice for 2 hours. That was my job. So he got paid to play. I got paid to just pitch to him.
Hey, well, there you go. I'm sure that helped.
It's not a bad gig right there. Well, all right. So Nathan, you've got an awesome guest today. I got to meet her a little bit backstage here before the show. Why don't you introduce her, bring her on, and I'll try not to eat, these chocolate-covered pretzels that I have on my desk here because she'll probably scold me. So go ahead and introduce your guest if you don't mind.
You can send those to me if you'd like. I'll send you my address after the show. So I brought on, her name is Andrea Luongo. We actually office right down from each in the same building. So she's literally like, I could stick my head out and probably about 40 feet down the hallway. So. But she is with Dietitians of Dallas. We're actually going to meet next week and kind of, bounce some networking ideas off of one another. But one thing that I've noticed about her from the get-go is that she is constantly seeing people. She's got clients it seems like every hour, which is awesome for her. But you can just tell she's got a passion for what she's doing. I was extremely knowledgeable. So I'm interested to hear more about that, obviously, when we meet together. But also just in the next couple of minutes. So I'll turn it over to Andrea, and then we can kind of hear your journey, your story, and what got you started.
Hey, awesome. So thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited. So so I'm the owner of Dietitians of Dallas, and we are a private practice that focuses on medical nutrition therapy. So it's more medical and clinical based. So I have 4 dietitians that work under me, and we all have our specialties. So we all kind of touch on weight loss because there's always someone who wants to lose weight, but I have a dietitian who's certified in diabetes education. She handles that, renal education and everything. But our main focus and what my main passion is to actually help people change their relationship with food. And so like you mentioned, I do, every hour, I feel like I have another patient, which I'm glad you mentioned that because really each session we allot 1 hour for each person. So it's almost like a counseling session. I feel like we do. So that's again why we say medical nutrition therapy in there. So a lot of people think dietitian, I'm gonna, I have to make you lose weight. I'm gonna scold you for chocolate covered pretzels, which I will later. But not now. No, but really, our job and why I love owning a business is because I get to kind of pick what our focus is, and again, it's changing your relationship with food, because no matter who you are, you have that self-talk before you eat, while you eat. Maybe you have some negative self-talk when you look in the mirror. And so it's our job to really kind of break that down and make you realize food is not the enemy. You can eat carbs, you can eat everything. It's just learning what your relationship is with food and what foods maybe you gave more power to. So you say you crave a food or you're addicted to a food, it's really an emotion that you tie to it. And so we kind of almost go back to your childhood or teen years. Sometimes it's really hard and break that down for you. So that's our goal, is more intuitive eating and kind of actually be your food counselor.
That's awesome. So I'm glad I didn't get scolded yet, but it sounds like it's coming.
Hey, everyone gets some flexible times.
All right. Well, we'll consider this my flex time then. Question for you. So clearly that's a very, I guess, inspirational message. And it's interesting to hear how you approach food in general and people's relationship with food. I never really thought about it that way. But let me ask you this. How did you get into, being a dietitian and have that be your career?
So it's kind of funny. When I went to college, I think I was like pre-physical therapy, and then I gained the freshman 15 like everybody else does. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll take a nutrition class, because I didn't want to do all the crazy diets that, every college girl does, because I'm Italian. We eat a lot. It's never going to work for me to go on a diet. So I was like, I'll take a nutrition class. And then from there, I just thought, wow, there's a lot more to it. So I just kept taking more classes. And then I met with my counselor, and they were like, oh, you have enough classes to graduate and go to a dietetic internship. So I was like, okay, I'll be a dietitian. And then but I loved it really. Once I got in the hospital setting in my internship, I loved it. And so I worked in the hospital setting for about 10 years. And then I started my practice January of 2019. So almost 3 years. So I've been a dietitian for about 13 years, mostly clinical focused, but now getting more one-on-one time with people. I really like helping people, not just seeing them for a few days in the hospital or the ICU and then kind of never seeing them again, and not really knowing if like the information you gave them helped them or, they need support.
So how many of you talk about seeing people in the hospital, are a lot of your patients or clients, are they kind of, they hit that rock bottom and they realize they got to make some changes, or people coming to you preemptively, or is there a kind of a mix of both?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mix of both. So especially with COVID and everything, everyone's like, oh, I want my immune system, really good, really strong. And so I always tell people, if you want to be healthy, you have to stay healthy. It can't just be, oh, it's December, I want to look good for New Year's Eve, I want to look good for this vacation. You have to do it all the time. So I have a good mix of people who maybe, feel like they're at risk for certain disease and they want to stop it, or they realize, oh my gosh, my medication's increasing, I don't want to keep taking more medication. And then thankfully doctors are more receptive to dietitians now. So we get a lot of referrals from doctors who are like, hey, our big goal is not to go up on the meds for this patient. And so we really, focus on specifics for everybody.
That's good. Was there a negative stigma against dietitians for a while?
Yes, it was so hard. Even I just feel like the past year or two, it's been better. But when I was like my first few years as a dietitian, I think doctors and most people just thought we were there to tell you to like eat less, work out more. But when they realize,
reduction, right? What a reduction of your ability.
Well, I know, because we have to have a bachelor's and master's degree. So my master's degree is actually in a master of science, but it's in chemistry. So it's like I have a very science-based background, and then you have a doctor thinking like, why are you in the ICU? It's like, well, because the person's pH is off and they're on TPN. So yeah, it used to be a kind of like, what's the point of a dietitian? But then now that just the way culture is, diet culture, preventative health, doctors realize I don't have an hour to sit with a patient. Somebody needs to sit and educate them. And then, the more you kind of put your name out there and kind of hustle, they're like, oh, this is what dietitians do. They have the time, they have the knowledge to break down start to finish, where are you at? Where do you need to be? How do we meet in the middle?
That's fascinating. I can't help but when you're talking, just hear all the things that I'm probably not doing well. And
No.
like, gosh, I probably need to schedule myself. So that's a good thing, I guess. I don't know. But so yeah, I when I invited Andrew, obviously, or Andrea, I was excited just because I knew that, she had her own business, obviously, and was constantly seeing people. You could just tell she's very friendly, exhibits a lot of the things that we talk about. And so I think, as we go into that CARES acronym, and Brian, if you want to kind of introduce that as we break that down for the next 45 minutes, I knew that she would be somebody that obviously experienced those things and hopefully at least mastered a couple of things that she can share her experiences in her business and her growth and just how those things have been impactful. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And yeah, so as you mentioned, CARE is our acronym and business topic of the month. And it's really the four, what I'll call building blocks or foundational aspects of core actions that as a business owner or even as a person, really, that we've talked about here on the difference. Lennon actually shared it with the group here. So, he's kind of an expert as well. He's hiding around in the background, so I'm sure he'll have some things to chime in about. But the C stands for communication, A stands for accessibility, R stands for responsiveness, and E stands for engagement. So those are kind of the, like I said, the pillars or underlying foundation of what guides us in our actions and hopefully our success as business owners, right? And hearing that you have a revolving door of clients coming in and out of your office, I'm sure that you're already employing a lot of the CARE acronyms already, but I guess talk to us about how those relate in your business. And we can share some of the things that we've talked about. I do like. I'll just tease it out here, but we'll get into it a little bit more later. They're almost all building on each other, almost in a reverse way. But before we jump into that thought, just share with the audience, Andrea, a little bit about how that works in on your business.
Well, a big part of it, again, is accessibility and responsiveness. That's a key, I think, for us because there's so many, like I said, a lot of people think dietitian weight loss. So we do have direct calls just for weight loss, but they're going to compare you to, other weight loss facilities or programs they've tried. And so it might be small things like, oh, I never got a response. I didn't feel like I was, actually paid attention to as an individual. So for us, making time, like I said, making our appointments, we block off an hour for everybody, whether it's initial or follow-up. Our dietitians, I have a policy, no more than 24 hours response time to emails. There's, you check your email all the time. So don't act like, oh, I didn't have time. So just being very realistic, and typically, if we're, because I hire dietitians have to have a certain amount of years of experience. So if a patient has a question, it should be something they already know and can, email right back. So that's a big thing is getting out in the community and letting people know that we actually care. We set aside time to get to know you. We're not saying, oh, it's 30 minutes, my next patient, insurance only reimburses us for this. We don't do that. We just make it about the patient, and they have to know that we're on their side and we're going through this journey with them. And I think that's a big thing. I feel like probably the past 6 months, a majority of our patients have been word of mouth referrals. So without that, you can have all the marketing you want to, but if you have one bad word of mouth, that gets out faster than anything else. But when we have patients that send us like Christmas cards and things like that, or they'll randomly send us pictures of a new puppy they got. I consider them like family. We generally know who our patients are. I feel weird even calling them patients because it's like, I feel like I know them more than that.
Right. Not just patients, right?
Yeah. And a big thing too, you can't, just like with anything, you can't be in it for the money because then you're just chasing that and there's never going to be a number that's satisfying. So you have to do it because you believe in what you do and because you really care about people and I want to take that load off people's shoulders. I know all about food. I know how much people stress about weight loss and, high blood pressure, diabetes. I got it covered. Nutrition's my full-time job, not yours. Let me figure out the puzzle pieces and we'll do it together. And that usually, once we tell them that in that initial assessment, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have to calorie count. I don't have to weigh my food. It's like, you really don't. If you want to, you can. Everyone is different. But yeah, that's the thing. You have to be there for them all the time,
That's awesome. So I got two takeaways there. You said one of your fundamental building blocks is that you care about your patients, right? So see what you did there? You didn't even mean to.
Exactly.
So that was one point. But really, I did have a question for you because it sparked, as you were talking about, your business, it sparked a thought with COVID over the last year and a half or so. I'm sure people resorted to, hey, I'm going to eat, my normal diet's out the window and stress eating or whatever it may be. Have you seen an increase in issues driven by that sort of stress eating with COVID, or has it just been kind of steady?
No, definitely, because they were with some patient called the COVID-19 or COVID. I forget. They said some weight related number with the COVID-19, but definitely, stress eating. People have gotten more depressed. That takes a big toll. Even if you're trying to lose weight, the mind controls so much of it. So your hormones are going to be off. That can lead to weight gain, and just again the depression, poor body image. So we've seen a big influx of not just weight, weight gain, weight loss due to, depression and stress. So yeah, the COVID stuff has definitely taken a toll on people's weight and health, like everyone knows. So that's been a big thing we've been focusing on. And again, once they're kind of in the right mindset, then it focusing on that preventative health. Like I mentioned, if you want to be healthy, you have to stay healthy all the time. So saying, oh, my diet's out the window, like you mentioned, we work with our patients to understand that it's never a diet. You neutralize all foods. An apple has to have the same emotional equivalent as a piece of cheesecake. So there's no foods are off the table. It's just, you can't tie emotions to food. So I'm sad I get cheesecake. Like, what do those two things have to do, with each other? But it's hard. It's like we have to learn to eat like toddlers again, where toddlers eat when they're hungry, stop when they're full, and they don't know how to emotionally eat because they typically don't have a whole lot of emotions as it is. But that's a big thing we've seen. A lot of our patients more disordered eating patterns due to stress and depression.
That's intriguing because I've never thought about it as, and maybe that's just the way I when I'm hungry, I usually eat, and sometimes I eat chocolate covered pretzels because they're good, but I try not to overload on those. But so I'm kind of that guy that eats when he's hungry. But I can see where there would be emotional eating or emotional attachment to eating. So that's intriguing. That's something I just never really thought about. And it's, you learn so much on these shows, as Lennon can attest, because he sits through a bunch of them and gets to learn and meet a bunch of different people. So that's super intriguing.
I must always be hungry. I think that's the problem. I don't know if that's no. I'm just do what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you just need to learn your hunger and fullness cues. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, we definitely need to have some talk in that area for sure. So I'm happy to learn more about it. So one thing that while you were talking, I was thinking, because in business, especially in what I do, in finance and insurance, you think a lot of people hear those as buzzwords, like, okay, well, I'm investing here, or I have this insurance or whatever, and they kind of feel like they've figured it out, right? And so one of my frustrations is, man, if especially in the life insurance world, if nobody has really taught you how it works, most people are getting wildly taken advantage of in insurance. Most people aren't investing; they don't know how to invest, and so I get to speak into those and really break it down. Do you have the same issues where, like, people, at least until they meet with you, they're like, okay, dietitian, she's going to tell me to lose weight and I'm fat and I got to stop eating candy, and that I don't want to hear about that. And they don't see the bigger picture. You have to, is that like a challenge that you've got to kind of break through that perception that people may or may not have from what you do?
Oh, definitely. I've had patients come in and say, I just want you to teach me how to do the keto diet. I'm like, we don't want to do that. And that's hard too, because we can do it a little bit, but when I kind of educate them on what ketosis actually is and how it can actually kill you. And there's a reason that when you're on keto for too long, you just go crazy and binge on carbs. It's a primal instinct that kicks in, just where your body's like, I need carbs, and you literally can't control yourself. So yeah, all the time we have patients that do that, or with some that are like more sports nutrition. So maybe they're training for like a bodybuilding competition and stuff, and they'll come in with, this is what I need. Like, they're telling me that. So I'm like, wait, why do we schedule? And I'm like, so you can actually have this many carbs in this. And it's, usually with patients like that, it takes the first two visits to where they're like, okay, I'll trust you a little bit. But yeah, it's we get that all the time. I've had patients come in and say, I bet I'm healthier than you. I'm like, didn't you call me? So it's just fun. But I think people just get nervous.
An arrogant statement to make.
I know.
Wow.
I really it's funny. I'm just like, okay, well, I hope so, you know. But yeah, all the time.
Why are we here? What are we talking? That happens to me. Like, yeah, you know, hey, they'll sit down with me. Yeah, we're good there.
Yeah.
Like whatever, you know. And I'm like, well, why are we talking about this? You know, why are we? And
Yeah.
I guess that's just the nature. I think it's actually a defense mechanism.
People like to hear their opinion coming out of your mouth.
That's right.
Oh, very true. Yeah.
And they like to.
And that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where I think going back to communication, responsiveness. I mean, all those things. When you're constantly communicating with people, getting information in their hands, obviously follow up is key. I mean, that's just good customer-client relations, customer service. But I think it also serves to slowly, especially for people that are maybe a little more obstinate or skeptical, or just, you know, the know-it-all people. It helps to break down some of those barriers where you can really get your message across. And then at some point they're like, okay, maybe this makes sense. And, you know, my struggle is not getting frustrated with people that come in, and you probably have to deal with the same thing. Just like, okay, you obviously got the degree. Why don't you tell me what we're doing here?
Yeah, sometimes I just have to say, okay, what are you willing to change, or what do you see that we could, you know, it's kind of just making it where they think it's their idea. But yeah, it can be, like you said, I think it's a defense mechanism. People get nervous and not really sure what to say. And so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get, it's interesting in the real estate world that, you know, I'll have some owners that'll come in and say, well, this is what I want to rent my unit for, or this is what I want to charge for rent. And what I've found is, you know, oftentimes they're a little high or a lot high, right? So the data, and I say, okay, well, I understand that's what you want to get for it, but here's what the data suggests that it's worth. And I'm guessing in your world too, Andrea, that you probably have to say, okay, that's great that you've read up on keto or whatever, but you know, and you can educate them on what the longer term effects, you know, you're destroying your, you know, your organs, or I don't know all the details, but I do know kind of what ketosis is. So for me, it's okay, I've got to supply you the data so you can understand. And it goes back to the care, the communication piece. Yeah, I hear you, I'm listening, but I'm communicating to you that this is what the data suggests, and this is what we're going to list it for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, everyone has that the goal they want. Like, oh, but I don't want to work out, but I want, you know, do X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, you can't not work out and then go do like an Ironman competition. We have to figure out a real plan for that one.
Right.
But that's the, you know, that's the challenge, and the fun part of the job is kind of breaking down the walls, you know, with some of the people, and then once they trust you, then there's where that bond kind of comes in. But yeah, those are the tough cookies.
And I've noticed too, like, you know, I'll have a lot of clients or people that end up working with me that I've just built relationships with. And I think, you know, the engagement, communication, that's all part of it, but also just being accessible. And so I'll be really, really kind of stringent on follow-up, people that I, you know, clients that I haven't been able to work with in a particular season, or that, you know, that maybe were interested in coming on and working with me as an agent, and then just wasn't the right timing. And so I constantly make myself available through following up, just checking on them, their family. I like to do a lot of handwritten cards. I send out cards all the time to people. And I think the accessibility piece is key, but it's also the accessibility of information too. So having a great, I'm sure I know you have a website, actually I've seen it, but just having that information there for people to go to is good, but then also making sure that you are available and you're making yourself available to them, you know, at a convenient schedule is also very helpful and very key as well.
Yeah, and something we actually do for our patients, well, we send like newsletters out every month. What we do is, since we take insurance, we actually verify benefits for the patients before their appointments, so we know, hey, you have 26 visits a year covered 100% with us. And so we're that gives them that feeling, oh, I can follow up. So we try to schedule follow-ups like within 2 weeks after the first, you know, assessment, and then kind of base it from there, because some patients think you're trying to lock them into, okay, what's your program? How many times do I have to see you? And it's like, well, it's individualized. We're always available, email. We send out, we have our Facebook, Instagram. We have meal plans. We'll send out recipe ideas. But that's a big thing too, is just knowing that you're available past that initial visit. So it's like, we can follow up in a week. If you feel like it was, not enough information, take the burden off of the price because your insurance is covering it. So that's the thing that, again, I think kind of sets our practice apart from other, either they don't take insurance or they'll say, we'll try to bill it and see, but we actually have someone who will verify all benefits before your first visit. So we know right away, like, hey, you might have a $10 copay. And honestly, now most insurance will cover unlimited visits per calendar year with a dietitian if they have preventative health benefits. So we have patients we see every week, some just because they can, and some just, because like, oh, I have a simple question, might be a 15-minute check-in, and that's totally fine too. But we offer like 15-minute check-ins. Like I said, any amount of time they want, we make sure we have it for them.
That's fantastic. That explains why I see so many people come in the office.
Insurance, you got to take it.
Okay. Are you in network for most, at least major providers?
We take Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and Aetna. So those are three major ones. And then we do a big discount rate if you're self-pay. It's just $55, which is going to be like Cigna and the other insurance companies make you pay $75 copay. So we're already cheaper than that. And then you get like meal plans and everything's kind of included in there.
Oh, wow. That's not bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to jump in here because it's a good segue. One of our sponsors is actually a health insurance sponsor. So we said earlier that we don't do commercial breaks, but we do kind of do commercial breaks because we want to give some love to our sponsors. So we have two of them, one of which is Liberator Health Insurance. So Lennon, I don't know if you have the splash screen from, I think it'll be last week. So Liberator Health Insurance is owned by Greg Holdberg, who is one of our co-hosts as well on Real Talk. And he has a deal of the week. So this was actually last week's deal of the week. He had just signed up a 54-year-old accountant as his 23-year-old daughter for great coverage for $570 per month. I actually do have this week's deal of the week, which I will read. It's not on the screen, but I will read it. He just covered a 41-year-old professional. That includes a PPO, covered doctor visits, hospitalization, and pays him $200 per day while in the hospital for $275 per month total. So a couple different examples of something that is a fraction of what you would pay through the government marketplace programs. And if you want to get a hold of Greg, because now is the time that enrollment is happening, reach out to him at 214-886-4688 or visit his website at www.liberatorhealthinsurance.com.
Subsequently, Greg also covered my mother. I don't know if I've told you that.
Is that right? That's awesome.
Yeah, she's not eligible for Medicare yet, but she wanted a plan to kind of get her to age 65, and he hooked her up. So
that's fantastic.
Pretty sweet.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah, that's and Greg's hooked up several colleagues of mine and networking partners as well. So no, it's great to hear that he was able to help your mom.
Yeah, we actually talked with him, my wife and I, because we, when I left the corporate world, we left our insurance and we've just kind of been shopping around for a while. And I was shocked at how affordable it is with him. And I guess there's a lot more options out there than people realize, I guess. And so I think around the beginning of the year, we're gonna switch to him. So we're pumped about that.
Yeah,
we'll be in network at that point, hopefully.
There you go. And a little public service announcement for those that have made that leap from corporate America to entrepreneurism. It's like you, Nathan. I think I was sticker shocked by the cost of the programs that are out there initially that you have visibility to, like those government marketplace programs. You get a little bit spoiled working for a large employer that they're covering a portion or most of your healthcare payments or health insurance payments, and then what you don't realize is they get special pricing that you as a consumer don't get. So
yes.
It is definitely a good idea to shop around because there are more options out there. So certainly look up Mr. Holdberg and Liberator Health Insurance if you guys are in need of insurance. We do have one other sponsor that I want to give a little bit of love to, Wines with an Appeal. So this is owned by Tom Rowe, who has been on the show in the past, but Wines with an Appeal is a fundraising opportunity at almost zero cost, you can think of it as, because all you have to do is cover the cost of the wines that Mr. Rowe will bring to your educational session, call it. So he basically hosts a wine tasting and an education session for a group and provides the wine. And as long as you order enough wine to cover the cost of what he's serving you, the rest of that goes to the charity of your choice. And he's told me that he has never had an event that did not cover the cost. So every single one of them has been essentially free to those who have hosted. So the official read on Wines with an Appeal, it's a company dedicated to assisting people fundraise for their favorite nonprofit organization. They provide fun and educational program to entertain your donors and increase their wine knowledge that could potentially cost the fundraiser nothing. And again, we've mentioned this in previous shows. The wines that Tom brings to the tasting and sells afterward are not, in most cases, not available in your local grocery store or liquor store. So not only do you get educated, entertained, but you also get the opportunity to purchase wine that you wouldn't get elsewhere. So in order to set something up, send an email to Tom at wineswithanappeal.com or call him at 214-621-5216 for more information or to schedule your event.
Awesome.
Okay, so we've got that piece of it out of the way, and we appreciate all the support from our sponsors. Those two individuals I know personally, and I know that they care, C-A-R-E, which is our topic of the month. So I do want to get back into that. One thing that I've asked other guests that have been on this month is of those four. The acronym, the four words that make up that acronym, is there one of those? So again, communication, accessibility, responsiveness, engagement. Is there one of those four that you feel is most important?
I feel communication is whatever it's in regards to, whether it's a simple question, the need to change an appointment, if you're running behind. Again, as long as I feel like everyone's patient, yourself, your staff, as long as everyone's on the same page, everyone feels comfortable. I think that's key to kind of everything. Because if someone feels there's a piece of the team or a patient that feels like there's not communication, they automatically feel isolated and left out of whatever the scenario is. So I always feel like communication is key in anything.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick one. I was, when you first asked that, engagement came to my mind, and not that I disagree with communication because they're all important, but I just find, what we do in our office, we're constantly, we have events, we have a lot of things that we do outside for our team, for our agents, trying to make it really a family affair, to get to know their kids, their what they're involved in. Some that are working here with us full time, some that are working part time. We just try to really be a family, a group of people just kind of moving in the same direction. And so, whether it's trips that we just got back from, we went to Branson as an office, which is awesome. We've got a lot of things coming up in December and January. I think that physical engagement with our team from a business standpoint, and obviously with clients, but you engage with clients kind of differently than you do your partners. In your vocation or job or whatever that looks like your business. And I just think that's very important because I think it increases longevity, people that really stick around. Entrepreneurialism, I don't care if you're in real estate, if you're in finance, if you're doing anything, there's a lot of work and a lot of time that goes into being successful. And so when you engage with people and give them a reason, a connection beyond just the business itself, to stick around and learn an industry or learn what it takes to be successful, constantly helping them self-develop. I think that's super important. We really enjoy being here. We enjoy what we do. We're just very carefree. I mean, we care, but we're very relaxed. That's why I'm wearing a T-shirt and a sports coat because that's just kind of my personality, right? Of course, Andrea looks super tough and sharp, professional every day, so she makes me look bad, but that's okay. but that type of environment, that atmosphere of whatever your business is, right? Finding ways to not only engage your clients, but more so the people that you work with, I think is very important because it brings value beyond just what the purpose of the business need that's fulfilling. And so to me, that's really my biggest focus is the people, the agents that I work with, and continuing to grow that team of people. And I think we've done a really good job of that so far. Much to the dismay of maybe the people that run the co-working space here. Yeah. They may not like us that much. I'm not sure.
I like you guys.
Well, as long as Andrea likes us, that's all that matters.
Yeah. So. The dietitian down the hall likes you. So
that's right.
As long as you guys have one ally in the building, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I think we have 3.5. So
that's, there you go.
One at a time. The security office is not one of them, so that's another story.
Really? Wait, are you the guys that went to the gym and you weren't supposed to?
No. Well, maybe, but I don't think so.
Somebody brought their friends to the gym, and that's like a big no-no.
Yeah.
What did you do, Nathan?
I don't think I did that. I have been going to the gym. That's a plus, but I didn't bring my friends. So.
I follow the rules, so I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll make sure not to break any rules. No, I think it was we were up here. You know, we have our month. We have a close of business month, just like real estate and whatnot. And so we were up here. They extended it like from the East Coast, and so here it was like midnight one night. And so we were up here just working, making calls, getting on appointments, and doing some stuff. And I think a couple celebrated a little bit too hard with our victory that month, and we're just kind of, I don't know. I wasn't up there. I was in another part of the office, but that's a whole other story. Mm-hmm. But anyways, well, we made it. We made it right. We made friends with the security people now, so we're all good. But
that's key. You don't want to get kicked out of your own office.
No, we're actually. I think we're gonna move to our own space, which is probably best for us, quite honestly. But no, it's a great space where we're at. We really like the people here. But I still have to say, one thing that's been awesome here is that we have trainings every Tuesday night. We have potlucks. We get people together on Saturdays, and so it's a great campus for that. Mm-hmm. The type of things from an engagement standpoint that I think people really gravitate to, because you can obviously make a lot of money doing what we do, and that's certainly what we want to do. But when you can keep people around because there's something else even more, an intangible or multiple intangibles, then that's where it's really special, because now you're building relationships, not just from the end result, but from the process as well. I hope that makes sense.
Well, I think it's pretty cool that, so it sounds like the only reason you met Andrea in the first place is because you're in the same building. And clearly that environment it allows enough engagement that you guys were able to connect, which is, I think, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a really cool setting. And that's the thing too, even like, I looked at other office space and when I was kind of, looking for office, and I saw one, I was like, it feels like a doctor's office. This, I should get something like this. But then I came here and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was like, because nobody really wants to see a dietitian, at least at first. But when they come here, it's so relaxed. There's so much natural light, and like we have coffee. So that's kind of a big key thing too. And they used to do a lot more community events, but that was like pre-COVID. They did like wind down Wednesdays and stuff like that. It was pretty fun.
How long have you been here?
October 2019.
So you've been here a while. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's just kind of a ghost town still with some of the big companies that aren't here.
Yeah.
They're working from home, but we'll see. That's cool. And your quote unquote waiting room, your people wait in. It's a lot nicer space than a typical doctor waiting room.
I know. Some of them get on like the chalkboard and like do little drawings. I'm like, that's cute.
No, it is a really cool space. We're excited to be here, at least for however long we're here.
Yeah. Oh no.
So just circling back on your guys' answers on the care and what you thought was the most important letter of the acronym. It's interesting because I get different answers from different folks, and we've had every letter represented, I think, except for A. So the accessibility piece, which is interesting. So there's not one that's more, there's not a wrong answer is really what it boils down to. Communication seems to be the most what most people have chosen. Nathan, I like the fact that you chose engagement. and that it goes back to my comment earlier about how they all kind of build on each other and they're all kind of commingled and dependent on each other. But Lennon brought this up several weeks ago with engagement. If you look at the word care and take the letters backwards, that's how I think they can kind of build on each other, because one can't exist without the other. So if you're not engaged, you can't be responsive. If you're not responsive, you can't be accessible. If you're not accessible, you're clearly not communicating. And I kind of look at communication as the glue that holds all of them together. Just from it's kind of a nebulous way to think about it, but if you've got that being the glue that holds all of them together, you really can't have one without the other. So it's curious to hear, what people's choices are of the most important letter. So we'll see if our final show of the month maybe somebody will jump on the A, because it's lonely. Nobody's chosen it yet.
Well, you're right though. Like I talked about engagement, but in order to engage, you have to communicate. So it's kind of like you can't really be good at any of those things without communication. So I think you're considering it, the glue is really important. Did we talked a little bit about accessibility a minute ago though, didn't we? Am I dreaming that?
Yeah, no, we did. Just like kind of like they all kind of, like you said, interrelate. I mean, the accessibility, everything like that. But yeah, we touched on it a little bit. I want to change my answer to A. I'm going to change it to A. And then I picked it.
Can I have that answer back? I'd like to go with A.
Yeah.
So, to your credit, Andre, you did say that when you were talking about how it relates to your business, you have to be accessible for your clients, because you're servicing them, and you have to be pretty much in person. Mm-hmm. I guess you can do Zoom, and maybe you did that during COVID, but you have people coming to your office that you service, right?
Right.
Yeah. So if you're not accessible, that is kind of super important for you.
Yeah, and I think everyone got kind of worn out with like the Zoom stuff during COVID. Like we have some initials. Yeah, initials I like to do in person, just to make sure that they think like we're a good fit for them. You can't really do that over Zoom all the time, but people actually now don't want to do the Zoom. Some will if it's patients we know, but really, yeah, people want in person. A lot of practices still aren't doing in-person visits. I've offered in person the entire time. So I kind of have a good mix of both. So I was fortunate. My business really wasn't affected too much.
No, that's good. And I'm glad that especially here in Texas, I think most people were like, let's just get back to in person as soon as possible. Yeah. So you're probably in the right state for the in-person side.
100%. And you bring up a good point, because business in general, accessibility is key, because you think about COVID, right? So all these businesses had to pivot and figure out, how do I still do what I do, or get to the masses what I do? Or for us, we did a lot of in-person stuff, kitchen table, whatnot, meeting out for coffee, and I love that. I like person-to-person, face-to-face, but being able to switch to Zoom has actually been very helpful. So now we've broadened our reach to different states, and we've got clients and agents all over the country, which is good. That you do miss that. It's harder to engage on Zoom. Speaking of engagement, so that's something you've got to really be intentional about that. Whereas when you're in person, it's just a natural connection that generally occurs more easily in person. And so, it's one of the things in business is you've got to figure out, no matter what the market's doing, no matter what comes your way, you've got to figure out how to overcome those hurdles and figure out, well, what do I need to do to get my message, my product, my service to the masses? And so the companies that were able to do that, they succeeded, and they like, I felt like we actually thrived during COVID. We're not to brag. I mean, it's just reality. We're unfortunately, and I actually think unnecessarily, even a lot of companies didn't make it, and that's very, very sad. But I guess depending on what they did, they couldn't figure that aspect out. And you've got all these companies that are now, all these restaurants during COVID that started, doing the driver where they can pick
carry out or pickup. Yep.
They even passed a law where you can carry out alcohol, which I don't know what that means for our state. If that are we too dependent on drinking? I mean, I love a good margarita, but I don't know that I need it delivered at like 12 a.m.
I know.
But I mean, it's interesting because now all these companies are making it, and the larger ones were able to survive, like all the Brinker restaurants and whatnot. But it is, I mean, that's the end of the day. Is people have got to know what you do, and you've got to be accessible, whether it's through like Andrea talked about, word of mouth and referrals, or advertising, or just putting yourself out there, whatever that looks like. And that's a big part of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. On the I was just thinking of restaurants and COVID and how it, looking at the CARE acronym, right? Accessibility. The government, for better or for worse, took away the accessibility of the ability to go into a restaurant, right? So you talk about pivoting and how you have to change to keep your business afloat. Well, yeah, restaurants is a great example. Moving to the carryout model, or the order online and just touchless pickup, that sort of thing. I think about it in the real estate world. Luckily, we didn't have to deal with it too long, but there was a period of time for at least about a month there where all showings were basically either halted or virtual. So to reduce the amount of interaction of people and people coming through a home. So yeah, I mean it's pretty wild, and Andrea, it sounds like you for a little bit of time had to do Zoom, or maybe it was a longer period of time. I don't know, but was there a recent change where more people were coming in, or did that happen earlier last year?
Well, last year actually, when everything started, because I'm in the military, so I actually got activated for COVID and was deployed up to Boston. So I kind of had to put my practice on hold for a few months, but we definitely took the opportunity to market like very patriotic. So I think a lot of the doctors, we kind of marketed out to like, hey, we can't take referrals right now, but they were very much like, I still kept up newsletters. So the first part, I think when Zoom was like really heavy and everything, I was actually gone for all of that. So I kept up with newsletters. So that, I think that's why it didn't affect my business, because I was kind of like lifted out of the picture. And then by the time I came back, stuff was kind of getting back to normal, and stuff was so crazy up on the East Coast that when I came back to Texas, I was like, this is nothing. Like, you don't have to do anything. Like, and so I had a couple Zoom, but really by the time I came back from everything and slid back in, people were like, can we come in person? I'm like, yeah, sure. I've been gone.
It's because she can't even go to the grocery store. It's insane the amount of lockdown up there. I had no idea that you were in the military. That's awesome. What branch?
Army. I've been in for 11 years and trying to get out. They'll let you in, but getting out's a whole lot.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's fascinating. Wow, I learned something new.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. We had our Veterans Day show last week. It was on Veterans Day. So
nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service. That's great.
Absolutely. What did you, when you got called up, what were you doing up in Boston?
Nothing. If I'm being honest, like, I'm with a combat support hospital. That's
she could tell you, but she'd have to kill you.
Yeah, I mean, it was like we weren't quite needed. So we were at the Boston Convention Center, just helping where we could, wherever they need extra hands. So it didn't necessarily depend what your MOS was or what your job is. It's like, yeah, I think at one point I was working in the kitchen washing like COVID dishes, because that's where they needed a body. And then we were unloading trucks at another facility because that's where they needed people. So it was definitely a different type of activation, a different thing. But whatever, I'm back, so it's okay. It's over.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
So,
go ahead.
No, Nathan, go. You go.
Well, no, I was keep going with the Army line of questioning. We'll go back to what I just had all kinds of questions that came to my mind, but no, go ahead, Brian.
No, fire away, because I'm curious.
Okay. Well, how did you get it? What made you go to the Army? One, and where were you stationed originally, like during boot camp?
So I honestly joined just because I love this country. I really love. I've always been just very patriotic, and just I didn't get any tuition reimbursement or anything like that. There was no perks at the time that I joined, because it's kind of 11 years ago, it was a lot different than today, where they kind of just feel like they throw money at people, which is cool, good for them. But I just joined for genuine love for the country. And then I did boot camp at Fort Sam in San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah, really cool experience. From what I hear, what boot camp is like now, much easier than when I went. The military just changed a lot, which happens. But
well, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings during boot camp, so it's probably gotten easier.
Yeah, apparently I hear they have like cards they can hold up and say like you're being too mean. And I went, something like that, where it's like a chaplain card where if you're being too mean or it's not, I don't know what it is, but essentially you can't yell at people anymore.
Does that work in war too? Can I just hold a card up and they won't shoot at me anymore?
Yeah,
I know. Or
you're gonna start losing the wars.
Exactly, Alexa, block the ammo. I don't know.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
It is. It's like, so we're gonna get invaded any minute, right? I mean,
let's not broadcast our weakness to everyone.
I know. It is, but you have the old school people. My husband is prior service too. He was in active duty Coast Guard for 11 years. He's in nursing school, but he was one of the guys chasing like the drug cartel people down in the Caribbean. So he's very old school. And when I tell him stuff that's still going on, he's like, they need us. We always had the old school vets. So I'm never worried. We still got the old school people.
Well, that's like everywhere. Like my best friend who now works with me, he owns his own agency. We office together. He used to be a firefighter because his uncle was a firefighter, and he was doing that for a couple of years before he started what we're doing here. And same thing. It was like, all the old school. It's always back in our day. We used to whatever. And I guess every generation has their horror stories or how much worse they had it. But in the military, I don't want it to be getting any easier. Like that's
participation trophies have no place in the military.
Yeah, or anywhere really, but definitely
the military.
Yeah, safe space is not in the military. That's safe spaces. Man, that's sad. I'm sure I just offended like half of Facebook, but I don't really.
Oh my God, you triggered somebody.
Someone is in the fetal position under their desk. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm very abrasive today. Sorry.
I bring that out in people. I'm sorry. It's a dietitian thing.
That's okay. That's okay. So, well, now that I'm glad I have. I have about 50 other questions, but I'll ask you when we grab breakfast.
Coffee Tuesday, yes.
Right. Yeah. So, I totally lost track of where we were, Brian. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all good. And ironically, we only have a couple minutes left. So, bringing it back to the topic of care. I guess one final question that we can noodle on, and then we can wrap up. But I guess the question would be: Can you succeed without doing one of those things? Is there? I mean, obviously, your success is going to be fantastic if you do all of them and do them all well. But is there one that you can kind of get away with that and still be a successful business owner?
I don't think, in my opinion, you need it. I think you need it forever, honestly, if you want to be a genuine ethical business owner. I think once you get to very large corporations, it's very easy for them to forget one of those because they think we have so many customers, so many of this, who cares? And so I think you need it, but I could see where larger companies don't care about one or two things, depending on kind of who's in charge and maybe who's managing like lower management stuff. But I think you always need it forever. I think you should always be humbled. And I said, don't do it for the money. Do it because like you have a skill set that will help another person. That's what we're here for, to help everybody.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that as you get larger, exactly what you said, your flaws can kind of be hidden because you're doing so much volume of whatever you're doing, which is great for profits, right? You can probably be very profitable and perhaps be a little lacking in one of these. But if this is something that I bring up a lot of times when we're talking with our people, like, expansion, growth, multiplying what you do is awesome, but you also want to make sure you're multiplying good habits, good qualities, good business practices. So that, if you're Coca-Cola or Google, you could probably, I'm not saying they suck at these things, but they could probably suck at one of these things and still you have such a reach that it may not be noticed. Mm-hmm. But what could you be doing if you excelled at all of them? Or do you still care enough about the individual that you want to make sure that you're responsible? Like, if I email Google, I'm not expecting a response the next day. Mm-hmm. But if I did, wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, that would make me feel like and I don't think he really cares about me anyways. But yeah, you're right. I think the answer to your question is yes, but should it be that way? Probably not, and especially small business owners. I don't think small business with large business aspirations. I don't think you can skip out on any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective and good way to break it down, Andrea and Nathan. You reiterated it. As a small business owner, I agree. You can't get away with skipping one. And yeah, I think just not necessarily purposely, but it happens when you work for a larger corporation or company. Yeah, there's depending on what function you're in or what there's many different ways to look at it, but oftentimes at least one of those letters either fades a little bit or completely falls off. So yeah, but it can happen. I agree, it can happen as a small business owner. It's too important. Okay, well, guys, we are out of time. It's already 3:00.
Oh, it's fun.
Time flies when you're having fun, right? But Andrea, thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to learn about your business too. We haven't had a dietitian on yet, so this is a first. So thank you for sharing about yourself and about your business. Nathan, as always, thank you for being my awesome co-host. Always look forward to sharing time with you. Landon in the background, again, thank you for everything that you do to produce the show, everything that you do for the business community and the difference, all that. So appreciate you for that. We have one more week on this topic of care. So join us next week, same time, 2 to 3 p.m. on Thursday. It is Thanksgiving. We will have a show. So if you're sitting around watching the Cowboys lose, and need to tune into something different, check out Real Talk.
Hold on. Are you not a Cowboys fan?
No, I'm from Chicago.
Oh,
I'm a Bears fan, so I don't have much to cheer for.
They're playing
right
Detroit. They're playing Detroit, so you've got a good shot. So
for one day, right? So 1 week we gotta. Yeah.
That's right. Well, thank you, Andrea, again. I appreciate you guys.
No, it was so much fun. Thank you, guys.
Y'all have an awesome day.
You too.
All right, guys. See ya. Take care.